Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm here at the Carlisle Ford Nationals in Pennsylvania, and guess what? I'm a very, very happy camper because this is a special moment. I not only have one, but two Ford GTs done in that beautiful Heritage Edition with the Gulf livery. So let's talk a little bit about why these two Ford GTs even exist. It goes back to, of course, the original GT40. Now, with the whole Ford versus Ferrari movie, what's been great about that movie and so successful, it's been good to car enthusiasts, but also people who were non-car enthusiasts who never even heard of Carroll Shelby really got into the story. Now, the movie isn't depicted 100% the way that it happened, but the great news is that because of Ferrari welching on a deal with Henry Ford II, we did have that wonderful battle that equated to 4 Le Mans victories. And what was unbelievable is that this brand known as Ferrari that was so successful, they have not won a race there overall, the overall 24 Hours Le Mans, they have not won that since 1965. Now, of course, the wins, 66, that really big iconic win, but then it was followed with another win, 67, 68, and 69. Now, what's fascinating when it comes to the Gulf livery colors, that orange, that Gulf blue with the bright orange, that wasn't on the car that won until 1969. So that's really where this color combination comes from. And it's not just on the GT40. That color combo has been featured very successfully on other models, including a Porsche 917. Now, Ford wanted to kind of really just go back and do that retro style with the Ford GT. The original Ford GT, not GT40, but Ford GT, was built 2005, 2006. What's fascinating is that if you go back to the early Ford GT40s, those cars, the reason why they call them the GT40, they were 40 inches from the ground. These are a little bit higher, but what's wonderful about the 05 and the 06 editions is that it really mimicked the overall shape and design of those original Ford GT40s. Now, after 06, no Ford GT to be found until we go to 2016. And guess what? Ford did something huge. They won after all those years, since 66, 50 years later, they won the coveted 24 Hours Le Mans in the GTE Pro class with the Ford GT, which we actually had that race version that we're going to touch on just a little bit in this review. So let's go ahead, dive in. We're going to compare the 06 Heritage Edition, that Gulf Heritage Edition, to the 2018 Ford GT Heritage Edition. Let's go ahead and dive in because there's lots of GT to talk about. Right off the bat, like I was saying, the styling really on point to what the GT40 originally was all about. When we start up at the front end of the business, I really love the way they blended the old styling with new technology. The headlight housing is shaped on point perfectly. You can see you got that projector beam headlight, everything blacked out on the interior. You work your way down, you're gonna have your projector beam style fog lamp. And then as you continue down, you can see that front splitter, which this is a functional piece. Now, the whole point of a splitter is to do a couple things. It's to produce downforce, and it's also to help stop air from going underneath the vehicle. Now, as we come across the nose, you can see that beautiful shape, the way the colors were laid down, spot on the money. Now, if you are a fan of Mecum Auto Auctions or Barrett-Jackson Auto Auctions, you would know that this is the one to have. These, with low miles, really go through the roof price-wise. You're talking about $500,000. And back then, they were around $180,000, $200,000 brand new in 2006. So you can see it's been one heck of an investment for some owners. Now you can see the massive air opening. This is gonna bring air into that radiator. This is, of course, a mid-engine car. When we say mid-engine, we're talking about the engine being in between the front axle and the rear axle. When we go up onto the front of the car, all of the ducting, the way the shape of the body was sculpted, really, like I said, mimics that whole design. And that's what I like about the mid-2000s, especially with Ford, is that they were really hitting the nail perfectly on the head when it came to that retro design, not only with the Ford GT, but even with the Ford Mustang. As we come around the bend, let's see what we're working with, wheel and tire setup. Now, normally on a Ford GT, 05 and 06, there's 4 options that you could put into it. You could put on racing stripes, you could change up the wheels, the brake caliper color, and the Macintosh stereo system. The Heritage Edition comes exactly with all of them. just the way you see it. So this is that optional wheel. I love the Ford GT script. It's got that nice 2006 design to it. You can see what we were working with our Brembo calipers, painted gray, and then you're gonna have a cross-drilled and fully ventilated rotor. Really, love the shape of the wheel. Now, if you're wondering, well, what's the size of this? This is a BBS forged wheel. So forged aluminum is lighter than cast and it's stronger. This is an 18-inch wheel. So we weren't talking about 20-inch wheels yet in 2006. As we come down the side, love all of the intricate bodywork, like I said, color mesh on the mirror caps. You got that beautiful, the way they did the number plate on the side, the Ford GT logo, little bit of a low side sill extension. These things do well over 200 miles an hour. Guess what? Here's a fun fact for you. When you're traveling in a car at 200 miles an hour, you're traveling the length of a football field every second. That's 100 yards every second at 200 miles an hour. Air coming down the side is going to be force fed. Underneath the rear engine hatch is not going to be an EcoBoost motor like on the newer Ford GT that I'm going to show you. We're talking about supercharged V8. So it's a 5.4 liter supercharged V8. You're looking at 550 horsepower, and it's mated to a 6-speed, a Ricardo 6-speed manual transmission. And as we come back, Lori can actually show off that beautiful piece of artwork back there. There's that supercharger up top. You could see how they worked all of the frame supports and everything to the rear. You can even see the blue valve covers, those powered by Ford blue valve covers. So intricate, love the design. Let's talk about the rear setup here. So as we drop back down, you're looking at out rear 315. So you basically have these mini steamrollers out back. And if you say own a GT350R, same width on the rear tire. 315s, the only difference is an 18-inch wheel instead of a 19-inch carbon fiber wheel. Now, as we come around the back, one of my favorite, you think the back is sexy, it just gets even sexier as we get towards the rear. I love the way that they worked the taillight design. You have that dual exhaust centered perfectly, and I'm telling you, look at pictures, use the interweb, use the Google, you can see the lineage more so with the 06 GT compared to the newer Ford GT, but I'll show you some touches where they took the new Ford GT and also made those same kind of little ornamental changes. Massive rear diffuser. Now, the whole point of a rear diffuser is to channel air that's coming underneath the car, and we're gonna suck it down to the ground. The thing that I love about this car, no big, huge wing up top. Everything is so clean, so sculpted. The rear fenders, it's just, I just wanna hug this car. That's what I wanna do. But let's go ahead and check out the 2018 Heritage Edition Ford GT. You can see a little bit of a color change, not exactly that bright baby blue, but still fitting the same color combo. We're actually gonna start at the rear here and then work our way towards the front. So I think they did a great job taking that styling, putting a super 21st century spin on it. And the crazy thing is that they actually designed the race car first and then designed the street car. So the whole purpose of this car was to go back to Le Mans, not for an overall win, but to win in the GTE Pro class. And guess what? In 2016, it happened, and it happened in a big way. And they did beat Ferrari, because in the GTE Pro class, Ferrari, not the factory, but there are factory type cars that are run by privateers in that GTE Pro class. Now, as we come to the back, let's talk about some of the similarities. You have those round rear taillights. You can see how they've been hollowed out to help bring out hot air. We get to the center section, we got our GT badge, and then you're gonna have that same kind of dual exhaust brought to the center area. Now, what's different about this Ford GT compared to the 2006 is, guess what? We have an adaptive rear wing and also air brake. So if you've flown on a plane lately, you know how wings help lift and wings help bring the plane down. Same thing here. This pops up, it's gonna give us downforce, and then it could actually pop all the way up and help slow the car down. Carbon fiber just spilled all over this rear diffuser area. And then you can see just all the aero work that's been done to this car. It is mind-blowing. Now, when we rise up, just like on the 2006 Ford GT, you can see that engine. And there was a lot of debate, a lot of people that were upset that this was not a V8 anymore. This is that 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine. That's that twin turbocharged engine. Still looking great underneath that rear hatch cover. The carbon fiber looks great. The way they brought the striping back looks phenomenal. 647 horsepower. So it's mated to a 7-speed DCT transmission made by Tremec. similar to what you find in the GT500. So no more manual shifting, no more V8 sound, but lots of performance. Of course, this car can go well over 200 miles an hour. That's not a question. We're gonna kind of swing back around. We're gonna go this way, a little bit different. Let's start at the back here, tail end of the business. So on that 2006, we had 18-inch wheels, and you're now looking at these forged 20-inch wheels. So this is a 325, so they got it even wider. And if you notice, we're talking about carbon ceramic brake rotors. That vehicle over there has steel rotors. They're pretty potent, but that is Formula One technology, started in Formula One many years ago, now on a street car. You can see that bright orange caliper, even for a rear caliper, quite large. And then they're two-piece rotors. So you have your aluminum hat and the carbon ceramic brake rotor, 325s. Unbelievable stopping capability. When we kind of come around, I have Lori kind of change spots with me and show off the flying buttress. One of my favorite design elements of this vehicle is the flying buttress here. As it comes off the roof and goes into that rear fender, this is all for aerodynamic efficiency. You can see how there's my hand through that area. Of course, we're going to bring cool air into the intercoolers. Being a twin turbocharged engine, of course, you're going to have intercooler power. And then Lori and I are going to swap places again. So she's going to swing back around. You can see the massive side sill, all carbon fiber, all functional. And then these doors, to help with driver changes at Le Mans, they actually open in a butterfly shaped design rather than on that Ford GT more traditional opening of a door. That actually helps get the driver change over, because during the 24 Hours of Le Mans, you're looking at about 4 different drivers are going to get behind the wheel of this vehicle. And like I said, 2016, they made it happen with a victory after all those years. We keep coming forward. You can see carbon fiber on your side mirror support. I love the bright silver. And then up front, let's talk about jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins, because this 6-piston Brembo caliper is about the size of a pumpkin that I ate and made some pumpkin pie. Love the color. Really fits the whole character of the car. Those massive UFO style brake rotors, carbon ceramic, 2-piece. This thing's gonna stop on a dime and give you change, and it's got all that extra performance. And then to wrap it off, let's look at the front of the vehicle. You could see the family resemblance, but you could see how things have changed quite a bit. So you're gonna get full LED multi-beam setup. I love the way they blacked everything out. They kind of kept that similar shape to the headlight housing. You can see all the aerodynamic efficiency, side air curtain, carbon fiber, even across the front splitter here. You got that iconic Ford badge. Look at how low, look at how wide. So the car is wider, it's longer, and it's a little bit lower than the 2006 Ford GT. And then getting up onto the front, same sculpted design. Absolutely love just how it flows nicely with the 2006. But guess what? We're not done. Let's go ahead. Lori, come follow me. So let's go ahead and show them what the race version of the Ford GT, the current edition of the Ford GT, this is the car. So after all those years, since 1966, they brought home a victory in the GTE Pro class, and they did it in a big way. Really, really was phenomenal. I remember waking up, Lori and I'm sure you remember, sweetheart, waking up early, and we watched that race, and it was just so great to see. But you can clearly see the connection from race car to street car. And what's unbelievable is Ford, like I said, built the race car first, and then they worried about the street car. And that really gave them such an advantage over the Corvette C7R, which was racing at the time, the Porsche 911 RSR, and those pesky Ferrari 488 Pistas. But up front on the race car, I love the classic color scheme, the red, white, and blue, nothing more Americana than that. You have your dry weave carbon fiber across that massive splitter. Lori and I are actually going to eat our lunch off that splitter. That's how massive it is. If you're wondering, what are those 2 little side scoop things on the corners there? Those are actually canards. That's another aerodynamic device to give downforce. And one of those things that could happen over a 24-hour race is you kind of maybe bump fenders with a competitor. Those could be knocked off, and that could actually change and upset the handling of the car. But that's really the intention of all that aerodynamic device. Now, as we come around the side, come around the bend, just so wonderful to be here in the presence. The sad news is that this program was only a 4-year run. They're done. So even though Corvette now has the C8R, and I really was hoping for some mid-engine battling going on in the IMSA WeatherTech series and definitely at Le Mans, that's not going to happen, at least anytime soon. Coming around the bend, you can see what we're working with wheel and tire setup. So specifically in the GTE Pro class, they use Michelin tires, Brembo calipers. Look at those rotors. Now the rotors, according to race specs, they're not running carbon ceramic rotors on the race cars. They're actually running steel rotors. There's many different reasons for that. There's costs, and there's also wear over time. So that for them is a better setup, and that's what the rules dictate. They don't allow carbon ceramic rotors in this class. You have that center locking nut. You don't have different lug nuts to mount that forged aluminum wheel to the vehicle, but just you could clearly see the lineage. Now, as we come down the car, like I said, doors are gonna be that butterfly style, very similar to a McLaren. If you've ever seen a McLaren door raise up, very similar to that design. You have the flying buttress. There's a few extra aerodynamic pieces, and obviously everything's been enlarged for performance. And then as we keep working towards the rear, that EcoBoost engine, twin turbo, 3.5 liter V6. And then to wrap it off, of course, on a race car, you're gonna need a massive stationary wing. If you want a little fun fact here, so in 1967, that was the first time that the GT40 won with American drivers and an American team, all American. That was Dan Gurney and AJ Foyt. Dan Gurney actually came up with this little strip there. They call that the Gurney flap or the Gurney strip. You'll see that if you're a NASCAR fan, if you're an endurance race car fan, this little piece of carbon fiber produces more downforce with not a lot of drag. And here's another little fun fact. In 1967, when Dan Gurney and AJ Foyt stood atop the podium, that was the first time anybody sprayed champagne at a race win. And look at it. Look, think about the connection. Anytime you watch a race, they're shaking something, whether it's champagne, Gatorade, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whatever it is, they're shaking it. And then out back, you're gonna have that same twin outlet exhaust with the carbon fiber, the diffuser, just even larger than what's on the street vehicle, but clearly showing the hollowed out taillights. Just to see this car go down the track and to think about all the technology that's going through it, all the engineering, that's what brings me back for more with cars, and that's what really fueled my passion for cars, was endurance sports car racing, going to the 12 Hours of Sebring. Really just a special moment here at the Ford Nationals that I get to share with you, and I'm hoping that this brought your level of being in the know for the Ford GT to a new level. But if it's things like these, where we're really just bringing it to you, and we're bringing it raw, we're live here, I want to bring these Ford GTs right to your house. If you want to keep seeing stuff like that on Raised Rides, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you, click the link in the description, get yourself some Raised Rides merch. I got to give it up to the champ, numero uno, the big honcho, the big nacho, whatever you want to call Lori, my wonderful wife, production manager, videographer. If you don't show her some love in the comment section, I'm coming after you. It's that simple. And I'm coming after you in one of these Ford GTs. So leave a comment in the comment section. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.